This is the virtual happy hour experience with the Drunken Grape. We are talking about a whole global shift into the view of accommodations and real estate, ties into international travel. A friend of mine, a very successful entrepreneur, I believe he has generated over $750 million in sales and revenue in the companies that he has owned. If you think about that for a moment, that is probably higher than the GDP of all but about 40 or 50 countries on this planet. That is absolutely incredible. Listen, without further delay, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, smash the like, subscribe to this channel, comment, and definitely hit the notification bell when you do subscribe to all. It's very important. Works with the algorithm of the YouTube channel, boosts the views, boosts everything about this channel. I really, really appreciate any assistance you can give. You've been a terrific audience, and we continue with this with Steve Cody. Steve, how the hell are you? Let's talk about bunking.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, let's talk about what your goals are with this. I mean, you are into accommodations. We talk about travel, so you can accommodate people like an Airbnb. It's also shared living. And, you know, we were talking in the green room. World travel is a 1.53 trillion. Yes, that's with the T. $1 trillion industry as of right now.
Yeah. And I had no idea until we kind of started getting into the space, like how big it is, how many tours there are, just everything about it. It's amazing.
Yeah, you have a legacy before you build into this. Tell us about your personal journey, because you own, I think, the Better Software company. I'm probably missing about 4 to 6 other companies prior to that. You had Rectify, which was kind of like, correct me if I'm wrong, but a catalog where people could go through you to rent out equipment and earn a commission off what they were renting through the business as you marketed it. And this was a wildly successful business. It was launched, it went public. I think there was a bit of issues with the partner, but that sort of, I heard you're looking at revitalizing that concept into a bigger and better platform. But in the meantime, talk about bunking, because this is cool. What is bunking exactly, and what are you doing with it?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it started probably about 17 months ago, and started with a problem. My son and daughter wanted to go to Tofino. Problem was the cheapest place they could find was about $6,000 a month, which they were going to go there for 3 months. They couldn't afford that. And I said, well, you know, rent the place and then go to Craigslist or go to Facebook Marketplace and, you know, rent out the extra couches, rent out the extra rooms. You get enough people in there, you live for free. And then my daughter, she's 23, she kind of looks at me and she says, okay, well, what about axe murders and how do people pay? So safety was a huge concern for her. And we went online and we started to say, okay, well, if you're traveling with strangers or living with strangers, like, how do you know they're not axe murderers? And there's no way of knowing, which is crazy, right? Yeah. So anyway, so I thought that was interesting. And she's a TikTok influencer. And then she's like, well, you know what? Like, if we're going to live somewhere for 3 months, she's like, I want to do collaborative living. And I'm like, well, what the hell is collaborative living? And she's like, well, that's where TikTokers get together and they collaborate. And I'm there, oh, that's kind of neat. And she showed me a couple of places in LA, like, you know, these collaboration pods, basically. And then my son, he's a product manager in tech. And he's like, no, hang on a second. Like, I never have an office to go back to. So if I'm going to live with strangers for 3 months, I want them to be from tech. I want to learn. I want to mentor. So anyways, kind of, you know, listen to that. And, you know, we said, okay, there's a safety problem. And then there's an opportunity where like-minded people want to get together, like live together, basically on a short-term, long-term basis. So that was kind of that's where the idea really got sparked. So came up with bunking. And the way bunking would help them is basically they can go rent that place on Airbnb or rent it from an owner, whatever it is. Then they come back to bunking. And when they get to bunking, they create what we call as a bunking pod. So say if my daughter was creating a pod, she'd say, well, there's room for 8 people in my pod. It's collaborative living for TikTokers is the theme of the pod. Then she would state the rules that she wants to have for people to join her pod. So safety is a big concern for her. So it might be, well, you got to go to your bunking profile and have a successful criminal background check done. Or you got to go to your bunking profile and have a successful credit check done. Or you got to be double vaxxed or there's no smoking. So whatever rules she wants to have to join her pod, which is her group of people, she would lay them out. And then she would basically lay out the characteristics or curate the group. So, we're between 20 and 30. We're English, Spanish, and French. We like to go to bed late. We like to sleep in. We're neat and tidy. So whatever those things are, lay those out. So now you're starting to curate the group, and then you lay out the sleeping accommodations, and voila, you got a bunking pod.
That's really cool because you set the ground where, you know what? There's a lot of moving parts in that are pretty cool. And I like the fact that you can custom create your entire environment. So you got the rules, you got the type of people coming in, you have commonality in interests. If you want to make it international, you can make it truly multicultural. If you want to make it more, you can do so many things with this that's so wonderfully creative. This is like Airbnb with all the controls added to it for your own purposes. So,
it's more
if you
about
want
the
to have
people
somebody
than it
that
is.
likes...
Yeah, more about the people than the actual accommodation, right? So another example,
and that's
Rob,
really cool.
Another example would be like if I'm a photographer, I want to rent an RV and go across the country. I've got room for 3 other people in the RV. I create a bunking pod, other photographers, whatever the age range is, whatever, curate my group, set out a couple of rules, and maybe I'm traveling for free now, or maybe I'm subsidizing the cost, whatever it is, right? Or I'm connecting with like-minded people. So it's really exciting. The more we look at it, just the bigger the opportunity is.
And cheers to that and happy hour. I have a Saison by Saison Dupont. This is a Belgian farmhouse-style ale. Comes in its roots from the 18th century into the 19th century. They started shipping globally in 1992. Not a huge brewery, about 300,000 hectoliters a year, but pretty good volume. And Louis Dupont had created this. So Saisons tend to be funky. This one has definite spice notes. I smell nutmeg right on the nose on this one. So they love spice in their beer, the Belgians. Definitely very dry, very effervescent, a very tart beer. There's always elements of things like tart cherry in here. It's almost like white cranberry. Tart white cranberry is actually more prevalent than anything else in here. Great beers for pairing with turkey if you do not like wine. And speaking of wine, because I love wine, you have an Amarone in your hand from Tomasi, don't you?
There you go. Yeah. We started it last night. We didn't finish it. So
that is an excellent wine. It's really a blend of indigenous grapes, Corvivione, Corvina, Molinara, Rondinella are 2 other grapes that are not nearly as widely used anymore. But this is an ancient wine. This goes back to the Roman era. They had a Recchiotto, which was in fact a sweet version of an Amarone. Amarone is itself, Amaro means bitter, so it's actually a bitter wine, a dry wine, very rich, very opulent, very high in alcohol, very jammy and potent. These are great wines with things like steaks, heavy meals. And it's interesting because what they do is they pick about 65% of the grapes on the vine. The laterals are what they call them. So they pick the grapes on the left and the right of the vine, but not what's necessarily in the center. And the laterals tend to get the most sun exposure. And it's a very interesting process that goes into this. Yeah, it's one of Veneto's powerhouse grapes or powerhouse wines, obviously being a blend. Very, very rich history. And in fact, the bitter version, which is Amarone, which is what you have in your hand, was, I believe, accidentally discovered and then really started to propel and be marketed in the 1950s and onward. Now it is probably one of the more popular wines and wines synonymous with the high end of Italian wines, without a doubt.
Yeah, it's really nice. My wife loves it. So,
yeah. Do you ever pair it with anything? Do you ever have it with food?
Yeah, steak. I mean, yeah, absolutely with steak. Yeah, she's a connoisseur, so it's
Nice.
yeah.
Always has to be one. So, we're getting back to this and getting back to bunking. I'm really fascinated about this. First of all, what's the best way? You know what? We are going to bring up, you can share on this thing. So it's awesome. Bear with
Cool.
me. We are going to bring up Bunking's homepage. I think Bunking's page is being launched. Is it not? It's still in development. Let's just take a look here. Here we are, connecting like-minded people, travel and retreat, shared living, remote work. Official launch this summer. So any moment now, you are launching this officially.
Yeah. Yeah. We launched last Friday in what we call as beta. So we'll be in beta for like 2 or 3 months. And what beta means for us is really just getting like a lot of user feedback and making adjustments. We did a lot of user testing. We did all that, like, when we were building it. But when the rubber hits the road, everything kind of changes. So that's kind of what we're going to do now for the next 2 or 3 months is just really looking for feedback. And we're starting to get some bunking pods up there. We've got a ton of wish pods. So, I don't think I explained what a wish pod was, Rob. But a wish pod is, a bunking pod is like a committed idea. A wish pod is like you got a crazy ass idea and you want to see if other crazy people want to join you, right? Like I want to go live in an igloo for 2 weeks. None of my friends want to live in an igloo for 2 weeks. So I create a wish pod looking for 4 to 6 people to go to Alaska, whatever the price range is. No commitment. It's just something I'd love to do. And people can say they're interested. Then when you get enough interest, then you convert it to a bunking pod. So it's a really good way to kind of de-risk or even just find people that are interested in really, really niche ideas.
And that's growing more and more. I think more and more, especially the younger generations moving forward, are into niche things. It's also activity. They're an active generation. I'm not talking about the people glued to their video game systems or the phones all the time, because we do have that element, unfortunately. But there's also, fortunately, a very big social element. And, they want to meet with other influencers, like your daughter with TikTok, for instance. And what a great way to say, hey, who wants to go to Laos or Cambodia, for instance, and be out on a retreat and practice yoga, but work on our TikTok at the same time? And we can talk about branding ideas and business ideas and how to do social media branding and marketing through TikTok. You're going to get a pod of, in your case, a pod of influencers doing this for sure. And then they can set out the guidelines, the duration, the time, the rules, and the activities that they want to engage in. I've never seen anything like this. I'm of the generation of, I came from the cruise line industry, worked in that for a number of years. I like my all-inclusive 5-star resorts, I won't lie. But this is something I would be willing to explore, particularly if you want the more adventurous type of activity. I want to go into the middle of Costa Rica, for instance, and I want to go through the rainforest, and I want to kayak down a river. Whatever it may be, I want to zip line through the mountains. Wouldn't it be cool to be going with a pile of people that you already know, you don't know, but you already know have all these common interests that you do too?
And the cool thing with bunking is once the host accepts you into the pod, you get to meet everybody virtually. So now you become part of the virtual chat. You get to see everybody's profile and, it takes away all that anxiety of kind of showing up and who the hell's in my group. You already know everybody before you meet them physically.
Yeah.
So it just really reduces anxiety, I think.
Well, and travel, when you think about it, people go in groups and people travel. They want to travel with the community they know. I like traveling with core friends, not even all my family members. They have to blend into what I want to do. And not everybody has that common interest, right? Yeah. And you do that because you want to mitigate the risk of somebody being a Ken or a Karen on the trip and, sabotaging it, being bitchy, getting annoying, and just turning everything on its head, because it only takes one toxic person to do that. By doing video, and you listen, I use this for virtual and hybrid events. It's a terrific way to hit a global audience. This is not slowing down due to inflation, travel cost escalations. Accommodation costs in hotels are going to get insane, car rentals. But what isn't insane is you can form these private pods. You can set up an Airbnb. A lot of people have private residences, more boutique style hotels, retreats. I think these things are going to become a little more affordable because they smell an opportunity and they can tie it into other revenue generating activities. And doing it this way and having the video call, engaging like we are, getting people on a platform, chatting and discussing their interests. You get a feel for the people. You take away that nervousness of just going in blind. And this is the main reason why people travel with loved ones, friends, and family, because they know what they're getting, right? And they've probably over time screened which friends. You want to screen which friends can go that travel properly with you. Well, with this, you're already pre-screening it way in advance. I definitely love the security feature of like a criminal background check. That way you know that you don't have any known felons or any recent, somebody like a terrorist or something that could be in there. You just don't know. So
you don't know.
This definitely you've got all the right features in place. I mean, man, I could see you taking a piece of the pie of that $1.53 trillion market. I'm not even kidding. I think this thing's going to expand far.
Thank you. Yeah, we're super excited. The more conversations we have, the more people that are going to the platform, they're seeing the Wish pods or seeing the bunking pods. I talked to a guy in Morocco this morning. He does tours. We have, like, if you think about just tour guides, all these tour guides, they work for bigger companies. And what bunking offers them is an opportunity to actually go out on their own and create their own tours. Now they don't have to work now they get to keep all the money. And, they'll probably deliver a better experience because it'll be more organic. So, I think there's tremendous opportunity for hosts and for guests with bunking.
Yeah, and I like the revenue generating idea, and I like the idea where they keep a lot more of their profits in their hand. That is essential. There's a lot of motivation there. Think about it. If you have any kind of revenue sharing incentive and it's incentivized, this is going to work better right off the bat. Imagine Airbnb or hotel bookings where your referrals or helping plan activities and events got a commission cut to it. I mean, this is a great way to go. I was actually just trying to bring up some stuff on Facebook. I don't know why it crashed. I remember you posting this, so we can just talk about this. But I saw recently you had some posts for different sites around the planet. I think you even had like Vietnam or Thailand in there. You had some really interesting places. You have some places that are even more local into North America wide to hit that audience too. Really, what can you not customize in this?
Yeah, I mean, literally, if you're going to the moon, you can create a bunking pod for people that want to go to the moon with you, right? So we're a social platform that helps to connect like-minded people at its core. And we talked about it earlier. We're like a dating site, but without the dating. It's really helping to connect like-minded people, shared living, shared travel, and we just believe that's going to create a better experience in whatever you do. There's no question about it.
That's so cool. And to wrap things up, what I'm going to do here is I'm sharing this right now. Steve Cody, CEO of bunking.com, like-minded sharing, living retreats, and travel. Right on my own backyard of Canada. And look at the following you've developed here. This is quite impeccable, Steve, as you've really grown and boomed on this network too. You are a tremendous entrepreneur. You are a visionary. You're one of my more favorite people to talk to because you're always excited and passionate. I love it. This is a great way, ladies and gentlemen, to get a hold of Steve. LinkedIn. Reach out to him, talk to him, connect with him, get to know more about bunking. If you are the adventurous sort of travel and international travel, that's really where my keen interest sits with this. This is brilliant. Listen, Steve, you've been a tremendous guest. Cheers to you once again. You got your Amarone in hand. Here is the Saison. Cheers to you. I love these stronger, more opulent beers. This is about 6.5% alcohol. I was going to show you one more thing before I go. Beer, like wine, has a color wheel to it. So you can sort of see the color of this, hinting into shades of, honey, going into more of a caramel into a copper color. Really breaks down some of the flavor notes in these things, you know. Like I said, you definitely get nutmeg in here. Could argue a little bit of brown sugar as well. Definitely the sour white cranberry, a little bit of cherry notes. This is what makes this, you know, a lot of nice acidity to it. Great carbonation. Carbonation increases your perception of acidity as well. And it helps cut into dishes. If you're ever doing pairings, there's 4 things to keep in mind. The 3 C's in the B: cut, complement, contrast, and balance. They're all pretty self-explanatory. Contrast is obviously like sweet and sour going together, sweet and spicy. These are contrasts. Listen, whatever you decide to do, ladies and gentlemen, cheers to you. Cheers to you, Steve. You've been a terrific guest.
Cheers to Friday.
Whatever you decide to do, ladies and gentlemen, yes, cheers to Friday. Have a terrific day. This is Rob from The Drunken Grape.